second paragraph of chapter 5. So the question he's answering is that the pasuk says, "Kamayim panim lepanim kain leva adam laadam." We explained that to mean the pnimius as follows: like the water reflects the face that's placed before it, so too the heart of man reflects the heart of man. So man, the two references to ha'adam and adam is adam ha'tachten and adam ha'elyon, which is Atzilus. However, kamayim panim lepanim is a face that's placed before the pshitas of Ein Sof. So to say that the pshitas, in the pshitas of Ein Sof, our being is impressioned is a far more novel statement than to say that we impression Atzilus. Why is it placed first? So we already gave an answer and rejected it. What was the answer that he gave and rejected? And I say, the first paragraph I say was an answer, but no, that won't do. Anyone? To speak up, sorry. He didn't say anything. Oh, okay. Well, that will explain why I didn't hear anything.
It had to do with color, the white background.
Well, water isn't white. It's an analogy. It's a step down from the marshal, similar, but talking about the water itself as a marshal. The dafka, because
It's clear. It doesn't have it.
it's seer, that's why it's impressionable. And more impressionable than something that has its seer. Like you're saying, a white canvas is easier. You can paint colors on a white canvas and images, and they're much more readily seen and purely than if it's a colored or a canvas that has a picture on it already. So that's a suggested answer, but rejected immediately because
Not of the same mean. They're
not of the same gather at all. That we are physical beings. So what are we talking about? We're affecting the pshitas of Ein Sof. And he gave a mashal to explain how it doesn't work by giving another mashal. We just gave a mashal now of physical pshitas, water, white canvas. But he gave a mashal of a ruchnis dike pshitas, not kedusha, ruchnis dike pshitas.
Thought
and
doesn't have a color.
Thought doesn't have a color. True. It's an idea, an idea, because of its pshitus. There was a very interesting and important detail here. Because of its pshitus, it can, if it's a truly transcendent idea, it's a truly universal idea, it can
be modified or used by chesed or
it could be expressed. It could be expressed that seer can be in endless ways. Chesed and gevura. And they gave the mashal in Chumash for a 5-year-old child. So the same tzvara to destroy the world, the same tzvara not to destroy the world. That's because chesed and gevura is in the same world as seichel. Whether we're going to be lenient or we're going to be stringent, whether it's going to be applied this way or that way, it's in the same world. So the pshitas of the idea can be expressed in different siyurim. That makes sense. But here we're talking about us here in this world, created beings affecting the pshitas of Ein Sof are in the same universe, to put it mildly. So our answer, therefore, is rejected. Just not for now, but we need to understand. So why bring the question and answer? Because you have to know the question and answer. And that's integral to understanding the whole subject. But anyway, we'll maybe get back to that. So what did he say? He started to answer. Va'bir. What was the answer? What did he say yesterday? The second paragraph of what he say? Lay down a statement that before we didn't appreciate. Our question was based on a certain premise, and he's saying no. What was the premise? What was the premise of our question? That Leva Adam, the Adam is more pashut than Kamayim Panim El Panim. Because
Closer.
the Begeder, Adam Atachn, Adam Elyon. So that's what he now dismantles by saying that the emphasis is that what, and tell me why, what he says and what, why.
Since that's what
No.
that's what he was in the answer.
What you're saying is true. What is he refuting? What premise is he dismantling that we started with? He said that's not so.
Loy al pi tam b'seichel.
One second, he's speaking. What? Let him be the korban. Huh?
Loy al pi tam b'seichel.
The assumption was A, and now we're saying not so. What was the assumption?
We can't affect the sheet.
Well, let's peg it. What's the other alien is what? No, the assumption of the question was that it's more poshet. The assumption of the question was on the level Adam, Adam. That's poshet. Our question was, how could it be Mayim Panim L'Panim? The whole question is based on that assumption. Now he's dismantling that assumption. So the question is removed. How is he dismantling it? He's dismantling our assumption with respect to level Adam, Adam. We said, we thought, we assumed that Tzir, Nefesh has Tzir. Atzilus has it's the same. 10 Koichos, Nefesh, 10 Tzviris. It's Be'erech. It's Be'erech. And if it's Be'erech, the big impression there is Poshet, or more Poshet than Mayim Panim L'Panim, impressioning Ein Sof, which is why we asked, why is Mayim Panim L'Panim mentioned first, as if that's more obvious? It's not. It's far less. It's far more novel. That was the whole question. But he says now that no. The fact that we can affect Atzilus is not a given. It's Beire, and we're Nivra. True, so let's unpack this a little bit so we'll remember and understand it. True, Ein Sof is higher than Beire. That's why he says Mikol Shkein. But even Beire is beyond us. That we should affect Beire, that's not logical. We assumed that was a logical thing. Cain lev Adam, that's a given. There's logic to that. That dynamic can be appreciated. The answer is no. That we can even affect the Eibush as he manifests as created in Olam Atzilus, that too is impossible, and it's only true because God allowed it and wants it. Shekach Allah B'Ritzoyin is the mind will go on to say, the whole desire for Avodah, and that we should affect him. So this is what he's unraveling. The assumption that Atzilus and us have a shaykhs. And the answer is, there isn't. That's Beira, we're Nivra. As we said yesterday, the Esed, then you're going to ask, but there are 10 spheres, we have the 10 Keichas and Nefesh, and they're the same names, Chochma, Bin, Das. The answer is that that's, in Atzilus, they're Bligvul, Muegvul. And we have no shaykhs, Gvul and Bligvul. Never the twain shall meet. You want to say something, Frank?
This only works in respect to the age, right? Because the nivra can affect the wearer in outside of that model. A piece of art can affect the artist. The child can affect the parent.
Yeah, that's because it's not a true nivra. It's not yesh ma'ayin. It's not a true nivra.
So it only works when.
Only the Eibush is the Beira. We can't create out of nothing, and we can't destroy it. We can't make things appear or disappear. We can combine and separate. We can't make things appear out of nowhere or fundamentally cease to exist. We can play with its ear, that's all. The closest is a child. It's the closest to Yeshvai. Very close. But at the end of the day, it's still, there's still a process. There's an ishtalshalus. So this is the premise he's laying down now. This becomes now the foundation of the Maimer. And it's a very simple, there's a lot of words in it. It gets really complicated, but at the core of it, it's really a simple idea. And that is that we should affect godliness and God is only because he wants us to. And that's all he wants. So everything else follows there after that. That's the foundation. Let's continue down the text. Or maybe we'll start again from Vabir Bazeh. Yeah, second paragraph of Eis Hey. Yeah, everybody has it? You fellas are all busy. Busy. From here, they go to daven, they go to work, and the mind is preoccupied. So I'm saying the only way that these things stick is when you think about them. So during the week, it's difficult. To say to you, Bakishim Shalamit, you should think about it. It's also basic. But I don't know, Shabbos, you got children. It's a big avodah, but 15 minutes Shabbos morning somewhere in the quiet, have the mind and think it through would be. What's the seichel? Forget the elikus, the avodah, to understand, and then you daven. Coming right off that, then start to connect to the likus of the mind. But first, we got to get the chitzonius pasha to understand it. If we don't think about it and spend time, it's very difficult. Okay, so again, v'abiyah b'zeh apei hayidua. Davening b'avodah is becoming a lost, increasingly lost. Chabad shul, 1 o'clock in the afternoon. Expect to see Galite sitting here, there, quiet, talus over there, not over there, thinking with the mind in front of him, done. And Laser tells a beautiful story that this book, once again, I've read only a few pages, but this introduction basically almost, the first few pages, he's talking about what a farbrengen is on Laser. Did a good job. It's authentic. The way they write it, I hear him say it. Kudos to whoever did it. Akoponim, so Laser tells a story. It's a Montreal story. You'll appreciate it because you know the players. Laser was a bacher, so this happened when he was a bacher. Reb Nissen Lemanov came to Montreal. He used to come. Remember, he used to come frequently to raise money for yeshiva in Benoit. And he would stay by Beryl Gansberg's parents, nephew.
Label Denberg.
I'm sorry, Label. Beryl Gansberg's parents, no?
Uncle.
Oh, no, he would stay by Label Denberg. Sorry.
His mother's sister. His mother's brother.
His mother's brother. But the connection to Beryl.
Beryl's mother is a Denberg.
Is it there? Right, she's a Denberg, yeah. Akaponim, so Reb Nissen, Beinani of Tanya, legend. The Peretz Vodshka was the mashpia here you remember him well, beloved mashpia in Montreal, and older than Reb Nissen. Completely different styles of Chassidim, like Shammai and Hillel. Feel like Nissen was like Shammai, Avodah, fakvetched, but in the most beautiful and inspiring way. And the Peretz was a lion, his pashtos, the way he sang and he spoke. There are tapes of his nigunim, and you can hear it. And there's a whole book in the Peretz this thick, huh?
David is wondering what the Yiddish.
What?
David is wondering what the Yiddish word perception.
Just compressed. Best way to translate it. Avoid the Kabbalas oil, Anyway, we could speak for hours. There's books on both. Each one of them a book this thick, the Nissen and the Peretz. And they're gems. Their Farbrengens, their teachings, their history. Akaponim. So the Nissen used to daven every day, hours on Shabbos till. So the story goes like this. So Reb Nissen came here, and the Peretz calls over a Bach. Says what it was. I would say his name. I forgot them. Chaim probably know him. I don't know this person. It's May or somebody. Maybe a Plotkin, maybe I don't know. He tells me like this: go over to Reb Nissen. Tell Nissen that I have Yortzeit today and I should farbring, but I don't have any koyach. He should farbring. And Reb Nissen is davening. It's already after davening, and he's already gone to a secluded place. So the Bacher says, at least his friend says, I'm going to go to him, listen, and tell him he should, tell him anything. That's how I said, at least I said to my friend, the Peretz said, you have to do it. I'll go with you. So they find where he is. This is like, it's 12 o'clock or so after davening. And he's in the middle of davening. And the Bacher gets, excuse me. And he says that the Peretz asked if Nissen would farbring because it. And Nissen acknowledges that he heard them. They went out. Okay, they expect them to 3 o'clock. So he's going to show up. So 1:30, he was there. Everybody was shocked. 1:30? Mekatzet is davening. You daven until usually a whole afternoon. I don't know what time. 4. So Anlis is bringing out the story, two things. It's made a huge impression on him and his friends, everybody. Two things. The bittul of Reb Nissen to the Peretz, because the Peretz was the senior, older chassid, and the importance of Chassidish Farbrengen. That he was, Katzir is davening, which his whole life was his davening, because for Chassidish Farbrengen. So when you daven, end of story. When you daven the whole, every Shabbos, it should be, and it's a farbringen sometimes, and you daven bekitzit, we have farbringen. That's okay. It's a beautiful story. The players who appreciate it. You remember them. Chaim, there's a beautiful picture your father's in it.
Yeah.
In Beryl Muchkin's house, whose house is it in?
I don't know.
Who's listening? I'm trying to remember.
I don't know.
The Peretz and the Nissen, and one is sitting with a bittul to the other. I think the Nissen to the Peretz because Peretz was older.
Dera Shishi to Dera Chamishi.
They had it. Okay. Never mind.
I'm not. Peretz was from Dera Chamishi. Dera Chamishi.
The Peretz.
He saw the Rebbe Rashab.
The Peretz, but he was Dera Shvi. He was Machanech. Beautiful stories with him, but the Rebbe also, not for now.
I'm not.
Of the older generation, he was unique. Anyway, let's go. Now we're going to continue learning. There's a story, but not for now. The Rebbe said in Yechidus once mentioned to someone about the Peretz, that he's older. He's older than the Rebbe, and he was a complete bit. And he was the one that appreciated the Dira Shvi, the whole Yavida. Everything till now was Achon. That was when it starts. He got it. So the answer to what? Again, to this question that Mayim Panim El Panim is before, more Pashut than Lev Adam the Adam. This will be effect above, even in brackets. Gam is Adam Ha'el Atzilus, even us affecting Atzilus, which our assumption was not so novel because it's be'erech, it's in the same world, universe, 10 koichas nefesh, 10 spheres. No. That is not logical at all. It's not a given. The given we are nivre. We are finite creatures in the Ilam Hazard. With our nefesh is finite and limited. And that we should affect Beira, even though Beira is the seven, the SS spheres, but as just mentioned, they're bleak rule. A little more explanation to understand this Bein HaRoich and why he was, how we are revisiting the assumption. Because the question, well, our assumption was, look, 10 spheres, 10 krichas hanefesh, be'erech. No, not be'erech, be'erech nivre. Let's appreciate that. The 10 spheres of Atzilus, what is not lost there is, it's the Eibishter expressing himself in 10 ways. That's all different. 10 koichas hanefesh, where there's 10 koichas hanefesh. To rephrase that, the 10 spheres of Atzilus do not call attention to the intrinsic value, Chochmah, Bina, Das. That's not what it is. It's the Eibishter expressing himself in Chochmah and Bina and Das, Chesed, Gvura. That's better. That's godly. The emphasis in Atzilus, what dominates Atzilus is not 10 wonderful faculties. No. What dominates Atzilus is the wonder that God is expressing himself in 10 ways. That's a huge difference. And that's Bein HaRoich to everything else which follows, where there are values to things, there are virtues. In Atzilus, there's no virtues. That's Eibishter. He's expressing himself like this, like this, and like this. That's Bein HaRoich to those virtues that exist within us, which are tziyurim and virtues in their own world, in their own appreciation. Seichel, midas. We clear? That's the Bein HaRoich. Even though it's tak estes vidas, but it's Bein HaRoich. What does it mean? They're bligvul? Yeah, but they're infinite. What does that mean? It means because what's appreciated there is that the Eibus is expressing himself there. That gives it that's what bligvul means. To remind you also, we've spoken about this, you're going to fill in the blanks here. Is the following statement true? Yes or no? That the 4 Olamas are the same, basically, except dimmer, 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 dimmer again. Right? The 4 Olamas, they all have 10 spheres, they all have kesed, and all the properties of every Olam exist in the Olam below. What's the difference? Tzimtzum. Is that true? It is a true statement. But can you tell me, is that all the difference? That's the only difference? That it's the same 10 on a lower and lower and lower level? Yes or no? No. So what else would you tell me that critical to understanding the difference between Atzilus, Bri, Tzir, Asiyah, and Asiyah?
Atzilus is Ein Sof versus Olamas Bri, Tzir, Asiyah.
Okay, but a Bri, Tzir, Asiyah, there's a pattern. There's a pattern.
The Tzir, the idea of Metzius gets more and more apparent.
Yeah, true. So that's what I said before. It dims and dims and dims. So Metzius emerges. But I'm saying there is a pattern in understanding. Hashem does this in a logical process. So we appreciate it. The pattern is this. The Atzilus Chochmah dominates all the spheres. In Bria, Bina colors and dominates every. I'm just giving language now. In Yetzirah, what dominates are the six midas. And what dominates Asiya is Malchus. Coloring and dominating and defining all the other spheres. Atzilus, Chochmah. What's Chochmah? Bittul. You. So every sphere of Atzilus expresses you. Your Chochmah, your Binah. Bri already, Binah dominates. Which means appreciation of you. There's already appreciator. An appreciator starts to emerge here, at least in potential. And Yetzirah, not only just appreciating intellectually, but feeling you. Oh, that's mamash mitzias. Asiya is someone's going to be acting upon your will. That's mamash mitzias. I once gave a mashal, some of you will remember it. It's useful. The four elamas, four people looking at the same painting. From the bottom up, all marveling, all going, wow. The first one marvels, he looks at the kind of paint that the artist used, the quality of the paint, the quality of the canvas, the physicality of it. Wow. The second one looks at the same painting and he's moved by the emotion that it evokes. It's a whole different experience. The third one looks at it and sees the brilliance, the talent of the artist. And the fourth sees the artist in the painting. That's Atzilus. The first one is Asiya. The mechanics of this painting is amazing. You know, it could be even he knows like which school he went to, what kind of art form, and it's the mechanics of the painting that's impressing him. He knows what kind is impressionist. There's all which can give you a whole history of the history of this kind of art. But it's mechanics. The second one transcended more. He's moved by the aura, by the emotion. That's Olam Habriya, the world of Yetzirah, the world of Midas. Olam Habriya, Seichel. So the viewer is seeing here the great talent of the artist. And the Matzilus, as you see, is the artist. Same painting. It's one Eibishter, basically it's Esesviris. But the Esesviris, he manifests in ways that the appreciation of them alters as he creates a further and further sense of independence, which is what the Tzimtzum does. Okay. Hare Piseichov, fourth line. Ein mokim shavedes Adam nivroim shavedes hanivroim. Apiseichol, there's no room, no logic to this. That a nivra, a finite created being, to either should awake, should affect, arouse, elicit a response. Tifel shinoi, affect a change. Now he added, he said yesterday, the change here is the response. That's the change. I'm not saying that he becomes now contorted. God forbid. Don't change. God's God. But there is a change. There's hamshacha. There's a response. And moreover, the response comes like the water because he's allowing, as the Maimon goes on to say, to be impressioned by us. Well, this to be unpacked, this nuance upon nuance. But the fact is that, now generically, that we can cause a response above that's beyond Seichel, Ela Lefishikein, Ola Machshav, Agdum Da'ak. So there arose in God's primal thought, Shalifnei Atzilis, before Ishtal Shalos. This is what God does. Ola Machshav, it's God's, this is the Nisav, God's desire. There's no logic to this. There's no why. It's like, why does God exist? There is no reason. He created reason. His desire doesn't have a reason. He exists. He had a desire. Gamala, that's all we can say. What is that? He's talking about Atzilus now, and that we should elicit a response from Atzilus. Because that's all. That's the Nisava. So that's Atzilus. Moving. How much more so is it a kachol lebritzaynai that bringing the maim upon him that we should affect it itself. Again, the mechanic here is Atzilus, Esesres Hagluyas. If there's an ascent, Allah Asman, it's all because of Avodah ultimately, but there's Allah Asman that affects the pshitus, the simplicity of the Eid Sof, impressioning and creating Esesres Hagluyas there. That should happen, Allah B'Ritzaynai. That's because it's of the divine will. Certainly, because now we're talking about Atzilus affecting Ein Sof. There's a bigger gulf, as you said before, between Atzilus and Ein Sof than us and Atzilus. So again, Mikolshkin begin with my part of the pun. There's actually they lost man the beginning param SS with Atzilus. This that Atzilus ascends again through Avodah. Nas Isharus the leil beginning my melin that causes a response in the supernal waters, which is Bapshit is the Eretz Shalmaine beginning Adam in the simplicity and purity, the transcendence, the purely infinite, not relatively, purely infinite. Atzilus is relatively infinite, but still infinite. Eretz Sof is fundamentally infinite, purely. So that Atzilus should affect Ein Sof. So there arose in his will. Where? What darge? Where is this will? Not in the Ein Sof, but in the very essence of Hashem. That's where that desire arose, and therefore that's going to transform Ein Sof and the whole Ishtalshalos. What's coming next is, let's appreciate, this is all by divine design. Ein Sof by nature is completely not our world. Atzilus is not our world. Ein Sof abadanish. But Allah B'Ritzaynai in Atzmos, that He wants to be affected by us in everything, the fulcrum and the foundation and the justification for all of existence is because He wants my avodah, your avodah. And therefore, that's going to affect everything, Atzilus, and even Ein Sof. Because Kach Allah B'Ritzaynai of Atzmos. That's really the core. Therefore, the impression is going to happen, and and that's going to be unpacked now. So what is the nature of this effect? So it's going to go deeper and deeper into the Moshe of Mayim Ponim El Ponim to make us appreciate how we, throughout our iskafia, our avodah, our davening, and so on, everything we do, everything, impressions, every darge, every divine expression, starting from the first and highest expression, Ein Sof, and ultimately Atzmos, because that's where it all starts. Okay, so we'll continue Be'ez Hashem. What's tomorrow? Oh, it's that day again, Friday. Okay.